I'm going to do a couple of quick polls of the audience to see how technical people are. How many people in the audience consider themselves an engineer or a computer scientist? Oh, wow, that's actually quite a few. All right, cool. And also, how many people in the audience have tried an HTC Vive before? Put up your hand. Wow, that's a lot. How many people have tried a Sony PlayStation VR? That's also a lot. Okay, cool. And how many people have tried a HoloLens? Wow. Okay, awesome. This is my kind of audience. Awesome. So let's talk about. Oh, I had my slides. They were up a second ago. I saw it. There it is. So the green button should push me through, I think. Right? Do I have to aim it at anything?
You're pushing the laser.
Oh, the other green button. Got it. All right. I am an engineering physicist, I swear. So I build all sorts of crazy things, large mechanical sculptures and huge robotic type projects. I've worked on many, many different technologies over the years. My background is engineering physics, and I came out of the ACT program inside the MIT Media Lab. And I'm here today, though, to talk about the future of VR and the future of AR, and specifically why I think that VR is going to eat AR. I'll explain what that means in a bit. This is called the Mondo Spider. It's an 8-legged walking machine. It has nothing to do with VR, but it's cool. I built that thing several years ago. This was my thesis project. I'm going to blast through these really quickly. If you have questions about them, come find me after. We'll chat. This is a beam, an energy beam, beams heat directly at you, and it tracks you as you walk around a room. It was super fun. It was installed at the Venice Biennale a few years ago. It's a folding skateboard, solar car, electric bikes, electric cars, pancake making machine. This was fun. Solar powered tricycle. Oh, that thing's pretty cool. This thing's called Prosthesis. It's an 4-legged giant walking machine. We just finished it recently out of the Eat Art Lab in Vancouver, BC. And some more stuff that I'm going to skip because there's not a lot of time. So why am I here today? Well, I track technology. I track the progress of technology, and I am able to apply my skills in math and physics and engineering to sort of feel things out and see what's going to win, what's going to lose. And I've got a pretty decent track record at this. So I've been working for many years now on VR for a few different companies. One company's called Isobar. They built this thing, Co-Driver, for GM several years ago. And since then, we've been doing tons and tons of photorealistic stuff. And this means capturing real locations like Hawaii, Wyndham, Chicago Grand, and the Smoky Mountains with volumetric capturing technology. So using LiDAR, photogrammetry, and building up these sort of semi-automated workflows in order to capture this information and put it into VR. This particular project was with the HTC Vive. So here's some shots of us on the rooftop using a gigapan to get these really crazy spherical HDRs. This stuff was really fun, and it's getting a lot cheaper, which is great. But the thing that really excites me is how fast the hardware is getting better. It's absolutely mind-blowing how far we've made it in just a few short years. So this is our lab in New York. This is a part of my team here. The guy in the middle is Scott Greenwald from the MIT Media Lab, who we work with. Yeah, we also get really early access to hardware, which is great. So things like Snapchat glasses or HoloLens or DAQRI, RealWear, ODG, Epson, Sony. We tend to get these systems way before everybody else, which is awesome because it means that we can sort of give really good critical feedback to the hardware developer and to the software teams that are developing the features that they think people want. Okay, so what do people really want, right? Well, people want the Star Trek holodeck, and I'm glad that the two other speakers before me said the same thing, because that's, I think, what we all want. We want it to be seamless. We don't want the dystopian version of VR. So let's talk a little bit about that. We keep getting, over the last, ever since like, I don't know, the 1980s, we've been kind of bombarded by dystopian futures with VR and robotics and artificial intelligence. So there's a little bit of skepticism out there when you strap this big, huge thing to someone's face and you tell them that it's good for them. What they really want, they don't want this, right? They don't want the Matrix. They don't want like Plato's happiness machine where you're sort of stuck there. You're happy, but it's not really being human. What they really want, in my opinion, is, and they don't want this either, this sort of the virtual boy, I think people have been largely disappointed up until fairly recently with VR, but people are getting hopeful again. Like when we were promised space flight all those years ago and we were going to the moon and all that, there was this long period of time where it really looked like the dystopians were going to be right. We were never going to make it to Mars, right? But suddenly, in the last few years, we've seen this massive resurgence in utopian thinking. People are getting a lot more positive about stuff. And part of the reason for that is things like this, like landing a reusable rocket on a barge out in the middle of the ocean. I don't know how many of you guys got to watch that, but it was a pretty historic moment, right? Yeah, exactly. So I think of VR as the same thing. So people look at AR and they go, oh, that's a utopian technology. If I can just overlay information on what I'm seeing at any given time, that's cool. I don't have to like wear a big bulky thing on my head. Maybe I just wear a pair of glasses. Suddenly that's much more human. That's what everybody wants. But I'm going to explain now why I believe that all the AR stuff or mixed reality stuff that we've seen so far is going to get annihilated by virtual reality. And it sounds confusing, but I'll get to why that's the case. All right, so the main reason is, the main sort of pillar for my argument are the media holy grails. These are the things that every young engineer desperately wants to accomplish. He or she wants to take this technology and bring it to its sci-fi conclusion, right? So we have things like, Her, obviously, hands-free vocal interaction, obviously the Star Trek holodeck, universal translators, true 3D holograms, like my actual avatar appearing before you. Maybe I'm not here right now. Maybe I'm in a different country. Telepathy, obviously, Minority Report style interfaces, the hive mind, which is similar to telepathy, right? So we can all kind of connect together easily. There's the reality recorder, which is like volumetric capture. And this last one here is the key, retina displays for virtual reality. So what does that mean, right? What it means is that the things you look at in virtual reality look like this. Okay, that's, believe it or not, extremely computationally intensive. Doing it on a phone or a computer, not the end of the world. We've already done it, right? But for doing it in VR, hugely computationally intensive. But possible. And not only possible, extremely important to what I'm about to explain next. So just to show you a little bit of the progress, this is scanning tech. 2008, this scan cost me, I think, $2,000. This one cost me, I think, a few $100s. And this one just recently was, I don't know why that says 2012. I actually did this, 2016. This one cost me like $50. And it's with a structure scanner. So that's, again, this is how fast the tech is moving. All right, let's get to the point. So the sharp peak of this pyramid represents 1.7 million room-scale systems worldwide. That's Sony, HTC Vive, Oculus Rift. They're all room-scale, because you can walk around, you can pick stuff up, it knows where you are. All of those use outside-in tracking, not inside-out tracking. But there's 1.7 million of them, a little bit more than what people thought. Kind of hard to develop for, they're a little disparate, but growing, and people love them. The most important fact here is that people use these systems every day. The daily active user percentages on these room scale systems are far higher than this tier 2 mobile section in the middle. Okay? And the reason why is pretty simple. A lot of the stuff in the middle here, yeah, sure, it's 4.7 million or 5 point whatever million now. But a lot of these systems in the center here, like Cardboard, Samsung Gear, Daydream, they're really cool. I use them, but they're just not quite there yet in the sense that they can't track you. And the frame rates are a little, suffer a little bit. And in the case of the Hololens, of course, you got the small field of view. So, but if you can make content at the top here, if you can be successful with these room scale type systems, you can actually take that content and redistribute it down the pyramid and reach billions of users with things like mixed reality 2-dimensional videos. You can make 360 videos, et cetera, et cetera. The trick is to start what we know people really want. They want immersive, they want room scale or world scale, and they want high resolution with big fields of view. Okay, so how do we get that into the world of AR? All right, let's talk a little bit about the progression. So 2006 gave us sort of the nausea-free experience. I don't know if the first time you guys tried the HTC Vive, but it was the first time I never got nausea. It was the first time, and that was magical for me. And I realized it was because everything's one-to-one, right? Your body moves by a foot, your avatar moves by a foot. If it's one-to-one, the nausea is more or less solved. So we also got outside-in tracking, hand controllers, room scale, and 90 frames a second. 2017, it's looking more and more likely that we're going to get almost all of these things, right? Tracked accessories, body awareness, portable room scale VR with VR backpacks, MR, this kind of stuff you're seeing in the bottom right-hand corner here. Co-presence multiplayer. Now, co-presence, to be clear, that's 2 or more people in the same room, right? That's not the same as multiplayer online. And then also content creation in things like Tilt Brush and Unity in VR. That means you're making stuff while you're in there. And of course, tetherless VR, which is what TPCast has brought us with HTC Vive. But this is where things are going. Wireless world-scale VR, low-cost inside-out tracking, larger rooms, retina displays, a full field of view, but this is the important part here, these last two. Pass-through VR displays and 6+3, some people say 6 DOF, but it's 3 extra with the magnometer tracking, and plus dead reckoning. So what does this do for us? These last two, if you can take video footage through the camera, pass it through, and reproject it onto people's retinas, and you give them good inside-out tracking with 2 controllers, using dead reckoning plus some other recalibration techniques, suddenly you can take your mobile phone and have an HTC Vive-like experience. This is what I believe is going to be the future, and as we get better at doing that, the more we can treat it like augmented reality or mixed reality, because you can just show whatever you're seeing and overlay on top of that the imagery that you'd like to augment it with. So Intel's kind of doing this right now. They're clearly going in the right direction. I'm very impressed with their hardware, very impressed with their developers. Obviously, Structure.io with the structure sensor, they've gone in this direction as well. They've been using an iPhone, actually. I think they're one of the only ones. I've seen very few people do this. Bridge is a company specifically making this hardware right now as a package. They have a little mini 1 controller so far. As far as I know, it's only 3 DOF, but someone correct me on that if I'm wrong. Microsoft is obviously going in the right direction as well, integrating inside-out tracking directly into the headset. This is the evidence that I'm presenting. And then this is the best evidence so far, is the HTC Link, only available in Japan. But they're on the right track, right? They've got this trackable mobile headset. They have 2 controllers that it comes with. They're very similar to the HTC Vive controllers. And all it needs is this one really low-cost RGBD sensor, right? That hooks up to your PC or your laptop. So my name's Leigh Christie. If you want to argue with me on this topic, come find me. I assure you I don't bite. I have plenty of more evidence to present. If you agree with me or disagree with me, regardless, come find me. I'd love to talk to you. Thanks so much. Actually, because I still got 1 minute left. Does anybody want to ask a question before we clear the room out? Anybody? No? There we go. There's a question.
Where do I get a 6-legged robot walking?
A 6-legged one, a hexapod. There are a few hexapods. There's one called Stompy that was made by a guy who worked for Boston Dynamics. That's in Boston. Stompy's in Boston, or Cambridge, or Somerville. Somerville, that's right. But most of them are either 8-legged or more. It's hard to do 6-legged. Any other questions? We've got time for one more. There we go.
Yeah, also wonderful. So the list of things which people want to have that VR could be.
Yeah? Say again, sorry?
Nothing wrong with that. All of the things you said would be ultimately what VR should be. Every single one of them, from her to Avatar, everyone from Hollywood movie. Maybe we could go beyond Hollywood.
Excellent. Yeah, for sure. So I think the question you're asking is, given that these are all clearly things we want and sci-fi movies present them.
I don't want them.
Oh, but you don't want them. Okay, but you want to go beyond them? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I like the idea of being able to jump 30 feet in the air. I like the idea of being able to fly, being able to do all these sort of superhero-like things. And I think the risk right now that we face is the same risk that we've had in the last 3 waves of VR, where we overpromise things. They never come true, and then people are like, all right, where's my jetpack, or where's my flying car? We don't want that. And right now I see a very clear path to gaining superpowers that's realistic, that we know we can accomplish. And so that's my hard line right there. I say pursue the things we know for sure we're going to be able to do, and let's not overpromise on things that might never happen. Or not never happen, but are just way off in the future. So. All right, last question.
Oculus or Vive?
Oculus or Vive? Oculus has made a massive comeback. At first, I was totally pro Vive, and I was totally down on the Oculus Rift. But ever since you can use 3 cameras with the Oculus Rift, I don't know if you guys have tried that, but the tracking's great. Once you have 3 cameras, it's pretty good. So yeah, at this point, they're pretty close to each other. Yeah. One last question.
So how do you compare this with
Sure. So like, how do we balance this tech with human needs, or what it means to be?
Needs and the possible problems that we might run into if we keep on going into VR,
Yeah.
AR, or AI.
Well, that's actually part of the reason why I'm giving this talk, right? Is that I don't want us to be enslaved by artificial intelligence with AI, with virtual reality masks on, right? I mean, in theory, if you just pump someone full of enough drugs and give them a VR mask, they could be happy for life, right? If you can build a little human incubator pod or something. And I don't want that future to happen. And that's where we're kind of headed, unless we interfere. So my logic is, once you start to make VR into AR, into MR, once you give VR headsets the ability to be essentially transparent and relatively small, hopefully, then it won't be that uncommon just to see people walking around in the streets with VR headsets on. And I mean, eventually that'll be a fashion statement. Right now it's pretty dorky, but we don't want the whole glass hole thing to happen all over again, right? So, all right, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.